I'm sure a lot of people are looking at that title and already going, how could you think the Sonic live action is bad? What is wrong with you? And right off the bat, I want to make it clear that I don't think this movie is bad, just unrealized in regards to what it could have been. Although, if you would have asked me what I thought of this movie when I first saw this thing in theaters, I probably would have told you I thought it was bad. My theater experience of this one was so terrible. First of all, the guy running that particular screening I guess never figured out how to turn the damn lights off, so the room was needlessly well lit the whole movie. I mean, I could barely even see the screen. Then there was the fact that the theater was completely packed, and it was nothing but very small children and their parents. I was thinking the room would be filled with more people my age, given how old of an IP Sonic is. But nope. Just a bunch of toddlers screaming and crying the entire time, and also apparently spitting on my ex whenever they talked. And yeah, it was me, my ex, my sister, and my brother-in-law. And all four of us walked out of the theater with a very negative impression on the film. I mean, out of us four, I was the one who probably enjoyed it the most, and that's saying a lot, given the highlight of that screening to me was some kid calling Robotnik a poopy butt. I don't know why, that just really made me laugh. I definitely appreciate it a lot more now. But before we continue, let's see what we got. Sonic the Hedgehog, voiced by Ben Schwartz, is, well, Sonic the Hedgehog. A snarky blue anthropomorphic hedgehog with the ability to run extremely fast. In fact, in this movie specifically, he's apparently so fast that he can basically stop time. Sonic is enjoying his life in his homeworld until he's seen by a dangerous tribe of Knuckles people. It's not really explained, but I'm assuming this is a callback to Sonic Adventure. His mother, which, yeah, apparently Sonic has a mother and it's an owl lady, tells him to take a pouch of golden rings, which are used as teleportation devices in this movie's universe, to get away as fast as possible because their world isn't safe anymore. This results in Sonic coming to our universe here on Earth, where he safely resides in a suburban town called Green Hills. Haha, get it? While safe, Sonic is so incredibly lonely he freaks the f*** out and runs so fast he causes a power outage in the town. The CIA, or something, out of options to find out what caused the outage, call upon the incredibly intelligent yet crazy Dr. Robotnik, infamously played by Jim Carrey, and I thought his performance as the character was actually pretty enjoyable. Although attached to the small suburban town, Sonic tries leaving to yet another universe because now Earth isn't safe now that Robotnik is on his tail. That is until a sheriff named Tom, played by James Marsden, shoots Sonic with a tranquilizer gun, causing him to mistakenly create a portal to San Francisco where he loses his bag of rings. Feeling guilty, Tom agrees to take Sonic on a road trip to San Fran where he can get all his rings back, all the while slowly establishing a friendship amongst one another and escaping the clutches of Dr. Robotnik. I mean, credit where credit is due, they do an okay job with this premise. But I guess one of my problems is, well, am I the only one who finds the direction they took this film to be a little tone-deaf? Sonic the Hedgehog, yeah, fastest thing alive, full of high-octane action. Let's put him in a buddy cop road trip comedy? I mean, when you think of the character Sonic the Hedgehog, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who would use the word comedy to describe him before action. Okay then, what was I expecting this movie to be? Well, let's look at the games, particularly Sonic Unleashed. Sonic Unleashed itself is a fairly mixed game, but if there's anything that game gets right, it's that opening cutscene. Not much dialogue, just some extremely well-animated, high-energy action. I mean, sure, you might have people like the Game Grumps who shit on it just because they're trying to make a joke, but I think most people, even if they're not a fan of Sonic, would watch this cutscene and think it's pretty solid. Not to mention, they have Sonic say the only cool thing he's ever said in the cinematic.
If you played nice, I wouldn't have to break all your toys.
Ever since this game came out in 2008, I always told myself, yeah, if they do a Sonic movie, this is how they should do it. High-speed action is just fun to watch. And I don't think most viewers are expecting a particularly great plot or characters from Sonic anyway. So it would have made sense to focus on more of the action elements. And you know what? When this movie does eventually have more action-based scenes, it's cool. Basically, anytime Sonic is being, well, you know, Sonic, the movie is a lot of fun. There's more slow-mo scenes here than fast action stuff, but even those are fun to watch. Conversely, anytime the movie tries being funny or have a quote-unquote serious character moment, it lands on its face pretty hard. I think a lot of the botched attempts at comedy are a result of the movie constantly trying to pander to kids. And I get it, it's a kids movie. But the best family features should make you forget you're watching something appropriate for toddlers. I mean, you think of movies such as The Incredibles, and sure, there's nothing inappropriate appropriate there that you would see in a much more mature film. Regardless, even as an adult, you are not constantly being reminded that you're watching a movie for kids, because it's not trying to jingle some keys to keep the kiddies entertained. It just feels like a movie, and it doesn't try to cater to one specific demographic. But when Sonic narrates how his mom was like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that his world was awesome because he didn't have to go to school, both of those are things he actually says. Or when they make a damn fart joke.
Oh, come on. What did you eat?
Honestly, it makes me feel embarrassed that I'm watching it. Like, okay, clearly I'm not the target demographic here, and yet here I am as a guy in his mid-20s, still watching it. And no matter what the age rating of a movie is, I don't think a good piece of media should constantly be reminding you of your age. Not to mention the blatant advertising for Olive Garden, which they desperately try to work in as a clever joke multiple times, but it never feels natural.
The only apps on my phone are the ones that came with it. And the Olive Garden.
Ah, because when you're there,
Your family.
There's this one joke towards the end of the film I actually thought was really funny. The joke is that James Marsden's character is being congratulated on all he's done, and to reward him, they give him a $50 gift card to Olive Garden. I initially thought it was funny because that is one of the worst gifts you could have possibly received for endangering your life, but the joke was ultimately ruined by him going, "I don't know about you, but I'm excited for those endless breadsticks." Like, really? You couldn't have just let the joke land? You had to throw in a, "Hey viewers, Olive Garden is actually still really good, not a bad gift after all." I do have good things to say about the Sonic live action, but I want to address one last thing that really bothered me. There's this whole plot point that Tom wants to move away from the small quiet town he currently lives in so he can further his career as an officer and really help people out, which is a noble cause. He's excited to go, his wife is happy for him and supports that decision. Sometimes people need change in their life. It can be healthy, and it's clearly what he wants to do. Not to mention, his reasoning for this decision is extremely selfless. He wants to save lives, not do chores around the neighborhood. Regardless, this leads to this argument between Tom and Sonic where Sonic is just railing on him for wanting to move, and that he doesn't realize what he has, and blah 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 blah. Sonic not understanding Tom's perspective makes enough sense given Sonic's own past experiences, but just because you understand someone doesn't mean they're right. I mean, it's like if your friend had a really shitty day and took it out on you. I mean, sure, you understand why they're acting out, but they're still an asshole for taking it out on you. It is so hard to watch Sonic have this whole hissy fit saying things like,
You're not the Donut Lord at all. You're more like the Jerk Lord.
Besides it being extremely forced and obnoxious, the thing that makes this scene even worse is that the movie is insistent on you siding of Sonic.
And if I don't make it, just ditch me. You seem good at that.
Oh my god, would you off. It's one thing for someone to be like, oh, well, think about what you're leaving behind. There's pros and cons here. But the audacity to imply Tom is being an asshole for wanting to move to the next chapter of his life is so frustrating to watch and makes Sonic seem really unlikable. He apologizes for it later, but the resolution of the movie still has Tom staying in his hometown, again insinuating Sonic was in the right during all of this.
Your home is perfect and you're leaving it. Why would you do that?
That might seem like a small thing, and I get what they were going for, but it really rubbed me the wrong way. What the hell though? Didn't I say I appreciated this movie more on a second viewing? Well, yeah, but I wanted to address the problems I did have because anything with an audience score that high deserves to be critiqued that hard. Otherwise, maybe that score shouldn't be higher than that, or that, or that. So, what works? Well, as I said earlier, and people might disagree with me on this, I thought Jim Carrey's performance was fun to watch. The slow-mo and action scenes are a ton of fun. The movie does have some jokes that do work fairly well. The premise, despite not really fitting the characterization of Sonic in the video games, is done decently well. I mean, if you're really going to incorporate Sonic into a buddy-buddy road trip film, then this is probably the best audiences could have asked for. And lastly, the animation on Sonic, despite the fact it's really obvious he's not really there, is well done. And I think the choice to change his design last second single-handedly saved this movie. And I do want to talk about that because this is probably why I deviate from the general consensus of this film so much. When the first trailer dropped and Sonic looked like this, basically everyone was like, holy cow, this looks awful. And it wasn't just Sonic's design. With the exception of Jim Carrey, audiences were saying everything about this trailer looked bad. It just so happened that Sonic's design was just that god-awful. It took precedent above everything else. But then the unthinkable happened, and a big studio actually listened to the feedback on social media. Suddenly, the perception of this movie went way up. From my perspective, it almost seems like people felt like they were obligated dedicated to say they enjoyed the movie because they felt as if they were personally listened to. Keep in mind though, very little about the movie changed beyond Sonic's design. In fact, it's almost distracting at times that the only change was Sonic's design. Like right here, there's a scene where Sonic has a bomb on his glove and he's trying to get it off, and it never occurs to him to just take his gloves off. And well, that's because in Sonic's original Satan design, he wasn't wearing gloves. So when they originally wrote this scene, taking off his gloves wasn't an option they had. And so the current version of the scene only didn't make sense because they changed his design. The reason I bring this up is because if they didn't change Sonic's design, I think a lot more people would have been more willing to critique this movie. And as a result, I probably wouldn't be alone on my opinions on the film. Viewers just would have been like, yeah, this movie is dumb. Even though in reality, it would have been the same movie with the same characters in the same series of events, just with an uglier version of Sonic. So then what does that say about the advocates for this film? That as long as Sonic's design is respectful to the source material, everything else about the movie is whatever. To people, nonetheless, people clearly enjoy the film, and I do think, at the very least, it will keep your attention throughout the runtime. And again, there are good things about the Sonic the Hedgehog live action. And you know what? I am glad the movie did well because I would like to see how the sequel is handled. The studio that worked on this movie is clearly willing to listen, and now that they have a better grasp of what their audience and people wanted, I think the sequel to this film might in fact turn out a solid end product. Most of you have likely already watched this one by this point, but if you haven't, I'd say it's worth at least one viewing. In fact, if you're someone with kids, then this is a great movie to watch with them because kids really seem to enjoy this. Either way, I'm glad video game movies have been getting a lot more love as of late, and here's to hoping the sequel is even better. Thanks for watching. I'd like to give a shout out to some of my patrons such as Abby Knutson, Amanda Guth, Vincent Lucht, Cashnader, David Pacheco, Jeffrey P. Long, John Hancock, Michael Moose, Oliver Lorkosh, Victoria Mars, Raffi, and Rami Batter. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.